Tammy Moxon is an artist from Townsville in Queensland. She plays live regularly there, and she also has time to write lovely songs. Her most recent album, Fighting Chance, contains the song What Am I to Do, which is her latest single. So we're going to talk about that. And I may also ask her about Townsville. Hi, Tammy.
Hi, how are you?
I'm very well, thank you. Just before we started recording, you mentioned that Townsville is booming. People
Yeah.
from Victoria in particular moving there. So obviously you love Townsville because you live there and have
Mm.
done quite a while. What is it that's so great about Townsville, just in case anyone's watching or listening and they're thinking of moving?
They're good. They're so good to musicians. There's so much work here. There's so many venues to play at, and it's enough to make a living. It's great. Yeah, I was born here. My family's here, and they haven't given me reason to leave. And I found love here. So,
Ding, ding, ding. I think it's an important point, isn't it, that being able to make a living as a musician, you do play a lot. Whenever I look at your social media, you're like, your weekends are always packed full of gigs. I know there are some weekends when you're playing more than one gig a day, and that's the sort of thing that a musician in a bigger city, because I'm in Sydney, that's just not possible. Mainly because the venues aren't here, but also there are lots more musicians playing. So for you as a working musician, is it just that it's the appropriate sorts of venues? They're venues you like playing in. They're venues that are supportive of live music, that people will
yeah,
listen.
yeah. No, I always choose venues that treat me well.
Right.
For one, because that's the biggest thing, and also you enjoy playing that. Like honestly, since COVID, I know what it's like to not be able to sing.
Yeah.
I know what it's like to have it taken away from me. And last year, I had a bit of trouble with my vocal cords, and so I had that other danger as well. And now that I've gotten through both of those obstacles, it's like, well, you know what? I can make a living out of it, and it's what makes me the happiest.
Right.
And I want to do what makes me happy. And so I'm quite happy, singing as many gigs as I can.
Yeah.
Now that I know I am healthy and I'm fit and I can do it.
Mhm.
Yeah, I'm quite happy. I'm quite content doing that until, my voice gives up or my body gives up or, whatever happens to happen in the future. Who knows?
I'm sure if you're happy doing it, then your audience would feel that, right? Because that's something that exchange between the performer and the audience is that whatever you're feeling, the audience can sense.
I hope so. It's it's a bit of a euphoric hit, dopamine hit. Is that what you would call it?
That's it.
It gives you a high, a natural high, and when you see people enjoy it, it's just like wow. It just makes you feel so good, and you want to experience that at every gig. So you're trying to get that at every gig. Sometimes you don't always get it, but when you do, it's the best feeling. And just to see people react to the music, for me, I try and get people to interact as much as they can. I try to get them to request as much as they can, because once they interact with me, then it becomes like a bit of a friendship, a connection. And then they're your friend in future, and then they're your supporter, and then they'll follow you to your gigs. So I really appreciate that connection, and it definitely makes me the happiest, I think.
I remember the very first time I interviewed you talking about your request system and the number
Yeah.
of songs that therefore led you to know, which was hundreds of songs that you have in your repertoire.
Yeah, well, it helps when people now I have that. I don't know if I said that before, but I had a field at the bottom of the list just saying, what songs do you want me to sing that's not on the list, and then I'd go learn them. It's just a good way to also gauge what's going well at the moment. Like country is big at the moment, which is amazing. Bit different 10 years ago. All these country music artists I'm hearing about that I didn't even know about.
Right.
It's exciting to hear this new music and hear what's going well, what seems to be popular amongst the population of
Yeah.
Townsville, at least.
It's interesting with country tipping to a certain point. I don't know whether it was Beyonce putting out Cowboy Carter and it's sort of officially sanctioning country music as a genre outside of the existing country music audiences, or whether it's just been an aggregation of releases and quality of music in this country's industry and elsewhere. But yeah, a good time to be a country music artist.
Yeah, it is. It's definitely popular. And it's nice to, because I remember as a kid, you know, it was so uncool to say you like country music, you know what I mean? And now it's like you say it and it seems to be the same with a lot of people. Even people that didn't like country music, you very rarely hear them say they don't anymore. Yeah. So I guess maybe country's evolved to be more to what the listener wants to hear now. I don't know, but I find country is very eclectic. You have very different types of country, and it seems to they seem to find a niche for every listener. Like you've got your Americana, and you've got your contemporary, and you've got your like Post Malone bringing out his country album, and there's like that, you know, there's a fusion there of like heavy metal and country, which is really cool. Like, you know, there's a lot of fusion going on in country, and I like it because it's kind of what I like to do, but probably in a more traditional sense. But you try and take one version of a genre and try and combine it with country and just make it your own. And I'm glad that country's adopted that.
Yeah. So which artists' songs are you getting the most requests for at the moment?
Fast Car.
Oh yeah,
that's a big one. But I think because of again, you know, it was a, you know, a hit for Tracy Chapman, and now it's a hit for a country artist, for Luke Combs. So that's that connection. Trying to think what else.
I'll never get over Tracy Chapman's original, though. It remains devastating no matter how many times you listen to it.
Yeah, it's an incredible song, especially that which verse is it? The third verse about the father. Yeah, that's full on. That's intense. Oh man,
I put you on the spot, Tammy, and we actually talk about your music. So I am actually going to ask you about your vocal cords, because you said difficulty last year. Did you get past it just through careful maintenance and learning some different techniques and some warm-up techniques that you hadn't been doing maybe?
2 seconds. My nose is like really running. Okay. Yeah, so is this reflux? That's all it was. It just, you know, a lot of Gaviscon.
Oh, right. Okay.
Yeah, and trying to minimize how many caffeinated, carbonated, and alcoholic drinks I have. And that was pretty much all it was. It wasn't no, I didn't have nodes. I didn't have strain on the actual nodules themselves. It was just on top of it was granulomas. So but yeah, I was wondering why I was coughing so much. And I couldn't stop coughing, and it was driving me crazy. I was thinking, oh my God, am I going to be able to get through? Because usually I'm about 6 months, I'm booked 6 months in advance. So I'm thinking, am I going to get through these gigs, or, you know, how am I going to be able to give these gigs away, and what am I going to do for my income? And, you know, all these things were going through my head, like, how am I going to get through this? And it took a long time to get to an ENT. Eventually, I found one privately in Cairns, and who would see me within like a month, and yeah, we found out I had granulomas on my vocal cords. But yeah, it's just I think it was just the combination of excessive coughing and reflux, and it was just, so now I've just got to learn not to cough. Even if I really want to cough, I have to teach myself not to, and I've really had to watch what I eat. So it's very interesting, because I actually thought maybe it might have been the amount of singing I was doing, you know, being a strain on my vocal cords. But my vocal cords seem to be fine. It's just they're fine now. But yeah, it was just reflux management, which is, I'm sure, a lovely topic.
Well, It's an important and interesting one, I think, because a lot of singers, they stay away from the carbonated beverages, and it would sound really boring to someone who's not singing, thinking, oh, why can't you have your Diet Coke if you want it? But it obviously that the reason is that when it's combined with the amount of work the vocal cords are getting, it's too much.
Yeah.
Yeah.
Yeah. And it kind of explains it. Now I understand my voice a lot more, because I was wondering, like, I was thinking, I haven't sung for a week. Why do I sound like this? Like,
Right.
why have I lost my, there were times where I'd lose my mids. There were times where my voice would just cut out, you
Right.
know, and it wasn't until I learned this new information about, what you put into your body does affect the way you sing, that I realized, oh, okay. And it made a huge difference.
Right.
Suddenly I'm reaching, things that I never used to be able to reach. And it was funny because when I had that on my vocal cords, I couldn't breathe. So I had to learn how to breathe again.
Right.
Because I was scared of triggering the cough.
Right.
Um, so I had to, once they'd gone, because it only took 6 weeks for them to go away,
Right.
after, following my diet. I had to learn how to breathe again. And also now I'm a little bit more cautious about, taking care of my voice. And now I'm actually doing vocal exercises. Like, you just go, oh yeah, you're being such a diva and all this sort of thing. But when you go through that, you're like, oh, I don't want to go through that again.
Yeah. But also quite reassuring to know that it wasn't the amount of singing you were doing, so that the vocal cords themselves can take the workload.
Yeah, it
long
can,
into
as
the
long
future.
as long as you're singing correctly. But the breathing thing, that was a bit of that alarm bells were going there, because if you don't breathe through your diaphragm, then you're definitely going to get trouble in your vocal cords. So I'm glad that I found that out early. And I kind of retrained myself to do that, because otherwise, I would have been in a lot of trouble and I probably wouldn't be able to keep singing. But yeah, definitely for singers, make sure you breathe through your diaphragm.
Yeah.
Otherwise, there's real trouble.
It's good advice to everyone. As someone who's been teaching yoga for a very long time, I can tell you the diaphragmatic breathing is something that is not as common as it should be, considering it's the default setting. A lot of people breathe upper chest. I'm digressing here, but and that can, the other thing about you not breathing from the diaphragm and feeling like, oh, if I breathe in a certain way, I'm going to cough, that could have set up actually a panic response where you just breathing enough and then starting to panic about not being able to breathe properly, and then that could have been a whole other thing to deal with.
I was having panic attacks in my breaks. I was scared.
Okay.
Yeah, I was, because I was thinking, how am I going to get through this gig? And the only way to stop it was, which is probably not the best thing for it, but I think it was more so the chewing action of, I was having 4 of those anti-cold tubes, whatever you want to call them, a day, because that seemed to be the only thing that seemed to calm it down while I was chewing them while I was singing.
Right.
Because that seemed to be the only way I could sing without having the trigger.
Right.
So I think my drummer actually said to put your tongue behind your top teeth, or was it bottom teeth? Whatever causes it to salivate, and that seems to stop the trigger to want to cough. So that might have been what I was doing without realizing it. But that seemed to get me through until I found out what was actually going on with my throat. But yeah, that was a scary time.
Yeah, that would have been very, very stressful. But you are on the other side of it, and you put out the album and the single.
I brought out the album while that was happening, so you can imagine anxiety. But yes, I got through it. Yeah.
Well, yeah, that would have been anxiety, because you'd be thinking, I'm playing gigs in support of this album, and my voice is what it needs to do. But you have made it, and you now have a single, What Am I to Do? Now, you said this is the first ever breakup song that you wrote after an actual breakup. Did you write it straight after the breakup?
Pretty much, yeah. So I was living with my parents at the time. He broke up with me about 3 weeks before my 8th birthday, which was heartbreaking. He was my first ever boyfriend. And you can imagine my heart just pouring out into song. I had a Yamaha keyboard that I got because I was doing keyboard at school. So it was like the standard keyboard you play on, and I was just playing do 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 do, and so I guess I was just trying to sing my heart out to a happy tune, I guess, and it turned into What Am I to Do? So yeah, it was originally written on a keyboard, and I forgot all about it until I was looking for inspiration for this song, and I've got these somewhere my songwriting books that I just keep. It's sort of like what Taylor Swift has with her books, and I have all songs from when I started writing when I was about 14, and I was just going through them just for fun. And I found What Am I to Do, and I was like, oh, that's cool. I'm reading the words. I'm like, oh, that was I was mad that day. So I kind of I calmed down the lyrics a bit and made them more generic, and sent the demo to Shane, and Shane turned it into this really cool 50s doo-wop song. And you can hear him doing kind of the doo-wop What Am I to Do,
Right.
responses in the background. It's really cool. He went to town with the background vocals. I really like what he did with it. And it's very country. Like it is Patsy Cline kind of country, which is the country I was raised on. So yeah, I'm excited to bring this out. It's a bit different, and hopefully people will enjoy the vintage stylings of this song hopefully.
So Shane is Shane Nicholson, and
Yes.
he produced the whole album. And yes, I was listening to the vocals going, that sounds like him, and you've just confirmed that it is him. So given that you wrote it on the keyboard, so you said you sent him the demo. Was the demo the one you made when you were 18?
No. So I went through the lyrics in the book, and I had to rewrite them because the lyrics were pretty, they're pretty
personal.
They're pretty
young man in question.
They're pretty on the nose. And I was like, yeah, it was very Alanis Morissette kind of lyrics. I was like, yeah, I might.
You want to know? Yeah.
So I just, I've calmed down since then. I've gotten over it, you'd hope. And I was able to kind of separate myself from the song and rewrite it to be a bit more generic. And I'm proud of it. And like I sent the demo on my guitar. I don't think I have a keyboard anymore. I gave that away or something.
Well, that's fair enough, because they are a bit more of a pain to lug around.
It's true. I did have a piano, like a stage piano. I don't know I must have sold it. I can't remember what I did with that. Who knows? But I have guitars, so that's what I use nowadays.
They're your tools now for performing and writing songs. So as you mentioned, the sound of the song, it is this upbeat that has this swing feel to it, and it is a breakup song. So I really do like the fact that it is this more upbeat sound. But I'm wondering, in the treatment of that, when Shane was suggesting it, did you think, oh, maybe it's meant to be downbeat, it's breakup, or is it more that this is now a recovery from breakup song? That's what the beat's for.
Well, it's funny because the song actually goes through a bit of a process. So initially it's like, what am I to do? My eyes are tired from crying over you. Like it's going through that process. And then at the end, it's like, I'm going to get over you. So the words actually change to be, yes, I'm taking power, I'm going to be strong and I'm going to get over you. So it eventually changed its tune, like lyrically. But it was always meant to be like a fun upbeat song, because it was kind of I guess it was my way of getting over it. It was a bit of a tongue-in-cheek way of getting over it. I just wanted to take control of it and just be able to laugh at it and at the same time be serious. So I hope this makes sense. But it was just my way of getting over it, was if I can just put this to the most trivial sounding tune, like almost like a carnival tune, to try and take the mickey out of, you know, what I was feeling at the time. Yeah.
Well, I think what you say, you also wanted to take control of it. I think, you know, it's taking control of the narrative. So it's you actually saying, well, this thing has been done to me, but I am going to change how it affects me. And art
Yeah.
is a great way to do that because you're in control of the song you're writing.
Yeah. And it's funny because when I rewrote the song, I've been through so many heartbreaks by then. It was like I was taking bits from every different heartbreak that I had. It wasn't just the one. So it was just me, I guess, taking the mickey out of the fact that I've been through so many heartbreaks. And it was, you know, like Taylor Swift does. I know I talk about Taylor a lot, but you know, her ability to make fun of it.
Yeah.
And that's probably what I was doing. I was just making fun of the fact that, you know, my record has been a bit.
And you're perfectly allowed to talk about Taylor Swift as much as you like because she is a significant songwriter apart from being a significant performer. So
Yeah.
I'm very happy for you to make the reference. But given that you have an album's worth of songs to choose from, some of them have been out as singles already, but how do you then decide what's going to be the next single?
I ask a lot of people. I send emails to people I respect in the industry, I guess, and then see what they say. And I also ask radio stations what they want to hear because, you know, they're most likely going to play it if it's the song they like.
Yeah.
So, you just, you keep your ear to the ground? Is that what the saying is? Yeah. You just ask around and see what they think because usually the song you like is not always the favorite song of everyone else. Like my favorite song was probably Saved Me because that was the song that, you know, meant a lot to me. But it's not everyone's cup of tea. So, you know, it's just, and it's also, it's interesting because this song is, this album, Fighting Chance, was such an eclectic album. There was so many different styles on the one album. It was just interesting to see what people gravitated towards because, like I said, I like to fuse different styles to country and just see what they sound like. So it was, you know, it's always interesting to hear what other people think, and I'm constantly asking. And I'm also like, people are always first to tell you what their favorite song is on the album if they, you know, it's like, oh, that song meant a lot to me, or something. You know, they usually point out what song they like.
Yeah, I think it's a great a good thing to do to ask people for their input, particularly from radio stations, because I would imagine they're getting the feeling from their audience of what sort of vibe they're after, whether it's upbeat, downbeat, contemplative, whatever that may be. And so clearly upbeat is the way to go, musically speaking, with thoughtful lyrics in this case.
Yeah, well, I think it's interesting because for a lot of people, you know, having the slow beat is really good for recovery, but when it comes to general listeners, it seems to be, especially when you're listening to it as a whole, it's better for it to be an up-tempo song because everyone can sing to it, and it's more of a jovial experience if it's to a fast-paced song. But I think when you're on your own, you listen to those B tracks, you know what I mean? Like the ones that haven't been released, and you kind of listen to those slow ones on your own because that's your way of kind of healing. So I guess in a general sense, yeah, the fast tempo songs seem to be better received because I guess I'm trying to think of a song where like Country Roads it's actually a bit of a sad song because they're missing home, but it's such a sing-along song, and it's kind of got a ding ding, like it's kind of a happy beat sort of, instead of it being a very slow, you know, 3/4 kind of song. I don't know, does that make sense? Because
it does,
everyone's more likely to sing along to it because it's a very you know, sing-alongy kind of song, and it's happy. You don't realize it's kind of a sad song. You know what I mean? It sounds happier than what it actually is because it's about him missing home.
Sort of hiding in plain sight. Yes. Yeah. And I hadn't thought about it like that, but of course, the tempo is the invitation to the audience
Yeah.
really to get involved. And then it's also, I think, for the artist, in the case of your song, it's like that upbeat nature of it can draw people closer because that's their instinctual response. And then after a little while, they're listening to the lyrics, because I think that's depending on how people listen to music. I mean, I will get the general feel for it first and then start listening to the lyrics a bit closer to repeated listening. So
yeah, that's another thing. Yeah, melodies are a big part of drawing people in, like initially, and then they'll listen to the lyrics. But yeah, that's definitely true. I changed my answer to that now. Yeah.
Okay. So because Saved Me is such a lovely song on the album as well. I'm curious what your fans have told you are their favorite songs on the album, if they've contacted you about them. I wouldn't mind betting Saved Me is quite a few people's favorite.
Yeah, Saved Me. The Valley actually was a big one. But it was funny. The Valley was very popular amongst the supporters, but not the radio station. So that's why I didn't bring out the Valley.
Right.
But the Valley is probably the one that's received the biggest response. I think mainly because it's just so it's very Celtic sounding, it's very powerful, it's very you feel like you're walking into battle with that song. So yeah, it's interesting. So the Valley was probably the one that got the biggest response from the supporters. As for the radio stations, probably Ready Now and Comfy, probably because they're more contemporary, they're more in line with what's being released on country radio today. So yeah, probably those sorts of up-tempo contemporary sounding songs. Yeah,
but it's also, I think, an affirmation to you as the artist that it's fine to put out that eclectic mix, right? Because yes, the radio stations are going to like certain types of songs, but your fans have responded to different songs, and so it just it gives different audiences a way into you as an artist.
Yeah, I'm also on the back end of releasing my songs from the album. Like I'm kind of, I've got more freedom to choose what to bring out as well. And so now it's like, okay, now I'm happy to release a very country sounding, like old school country sounding song to radio. Whereas in the beginning I was more so trying to reach the I guess the general public, trying to be mainstream, I guess. Whereas now I feel the freedom to the album's released now, that you can hear what am I to do on the album. So this is, released to radio now as a single. So I'm not afraid to kind of bring out the more country songs, the different sounding to what you hear on normal radio today.
Yeah, the songs that sound like the songs you were brought up with that you love.
Yeah, and it'll be interesting to see if it gets played. I'll be very interested to see.
Sounds like radio's already been quite fond of you, so I'm suggesting it will get played. But I'm also interested, have you been writing some new music since the album came out? Do you have time? Like you gig so much.
Yeah, I need to. I think I need to. There's been a lot going on with, my vocal cords and getting a house together, and I haven't given myself the chance to, like, my guitar stays in its guitar case until I sing, unless I need to learn songs. I very rarely have a guitar just standing there in my room. And I think I need to start doing that. And someone said that to me. They said the best way they didn't say it to me, but to someone else who wanted to learn guitar. They were like, the best way to learn guitar is to have a guitar always handy, to always have it out of its case, so you can just pick it up and play it when you're watching TV or whatever. And I need to start doing that because I was so hell-bent on focusing on this album, because it took 4 years for this album to come out. And I just didn't want to write other songs because I didn't want to focus on new songs. But I do need to start writing because it was a way for me to, I guess, sort through feelings, to sort myself out, to sort out those scattered whatever was going on in my head. It's the best, like Dolly Parton says, it's the best therapy. So yeah, I do need to, but I need to have a guitar standing there, so then I have a reason to just pick it up and just play because the best way to write a song is just to pick up the guitar and literally play while you're watching the TV. Like
Right.
that is, for me, that's the easiest way for me to write a song. And then eventually words or whatever come to you, and then you're like, oh, and then you zero in on it and you're like, oh, I need to write that song. And then you go away and you actually, focus on writing the song. So yeah, I haven't, and I need to.
So is it while you're watching the TV, so is it then because there's something else going on, so it's almost like it frees up this channel in your brain for the music to come through because you're sort of visually distracted? And so
Yeah.
I'm really interested in the process. As someone who used to do all my school homework in front of the television and actually did quite well at school,
Oh yeah.
I find quite, because I used to think, well, yeah, it was this sort of thing going on where one part of my brain was occupied and it then freed up the channel that was focusing on the study had to do.
Yeah, I do. Like the Valley came to me watching a show. The Valley and Ready Now came to me from the opening credits of a TV show during COVID. Like the Celtic feel of both those songs came from that song, and I was like, wow, that's powerful. And I managed to get an up-tempo song from it, and a really, I guess, it's like almost a marching feel for the other one. So that was from just watching the opening credits of a TV show, and I had to move. Whoa, okay, I've got to go to the other room. I think it's more so the TV is a great source of inspiration.
Okay.
It's the quickest source of inspiration because there's so many moving images, there's so many songs being played, there's so many messages being put across, and you're hearing different opinions, and you're like, I can look at it this way. Even just scrolling through your phone, like going through reels and stuff, you see what people are saying, and different ways of looking at your emotions, like anxiety and stuff like that. It's very interesting to see different opinions and be like, oh, I'd like to write a song about that. Or they just say a phrase like fighting chance. So I got that fighting chance from TV. I was like, oh, that's a good title for a song. And then I wrapped a song around, like an old melody I had, and wrapped it around that title. It's such a great, that, and also, your phone, reels, social media, whatever, however you get your news.
Yeah.
It's the best way to get inspiration, even from a newspaper. Like I will, like, oh, it's not even just TV. It's just inspiration for any, like I drove past a hairdresser. It was called Sapphire Hair, and I read it as Sapphire Heart. And then I was like, oh yeah, that sounds like a corny country music song, and then the line came to me, never again will a sapphire love turn my heart blue and then to stone. And I was like, I have to write this song. I have to write this corny country song now.
I guess the moral of the story is you just keep yourself open to those flashes of inspiration coming from wherever.
Yeah.
And rather than thinking of social media as this thing that's actually distracting you from creativity, you actually look at it as, hey, there could be ideas in there that could be really
interesting. The problem is I used to write them down, whereas I blocked myself for 4 years from writing them down. They are there.
Right.
The ideas are there, but I haven't given myself the motivation to do it, and I need to, because
this is it. Take this as your motivation. Get writing. Get that guitar out of its case.
You're giving me my inspiration. Thank you. Give me the motivation.
Well, because as you said, you're coming to the end of the songs that are being released from Fighting Chance, so it's time. And also, you're heading to Tamworth early this year, and maybe you can write a new song before then and road test it while you're there. So Tamworth gigs, you have 3 going on. The first one I think is Tropical Heat. is what
Yeah.
it's.
Yep. So that's, I think, is that on the Monday? I think. Yep. Monday or Tuesday. I should know that.
Not necessarily that it's still a few weeks away and the program's on.
Wait a minute. It's no, yes, Monday, 20th at 2 p.m.
With some other Queensland artists by the sound of it.
Yeah, so we got Midwest Molly, and we've got Cameron, who I actually know from up here, Cameron Cusack. So yeah, it'll be great to work with them and work with Cameron again. So yeah, actually I think we worked, Birdsville. We did a Birdsville one year together. So yeah, it'll be good to work with the artists. And I've also got Shopping World on the 20th as well. I'm looking on here. 12 to 12.
Wow.
And I've got a Welder's Dog gig as well. So on the Tuesday. So it's all in the front end.
Yeah.
Of
The Welder's Dog is a very popular venue. Are you driving down?
Yes, I am.
Okay.
I am. I'm driving down, and then I'm driving crazy. I'm driving to South Australia right after. So yeah, so that's for for doing Foley. But yeah, it's going to be a big trip.
Yeah, it's going to be a massive trip. Is it like 2 days, 3 days to get to Tamworth from Townsville? I suppose 3 days if you're taking it at a leisurely pace, relatively speaking.
Yeah, if I'm going to be taking it at a leisurely pace, because at the moment me and driving at night has not gone well. Those bouncy things like to like to be in the way. So I might go at a leisurely pace, I think.
Bouncy things, there's also small nuggety things, as in wombats, that can appear.
Oh, really? Have you had
at
wombats?
night? Well, no, not. I just know about like at night. So I think it's good to drive during the day.
Yeah. We went through a hellish trip 2 Birdsvilles ago, where we managed to hit 3 kangaroos and go through about 2 cars. So we, I'm quite happy to just stop at night wherever I stay. Yeah, I'm not going crazy like I used to, like when I was a kid.
Well, it's good to keep yourself intact, right? Because kangaroos can be quite solid. Yeah.
Yeah. And it's also nice to experience what those towns have to offer on the way. You get to see Queensland, and then eventually New South Wales.
Yeah.
And it's a nice way of seeing new things and taking things in. And as you get older, you realize you actually need to experience this. You should enjoy the journey, not just the destination.
Well, and look, it's a beautiful big country. So there's plenty to see on the way down, but I should let you go because you need to rest your voice. Apart from anything else, you're going to have gigs later this week, I'm sure. But
I'm happy to talk all week. Don't worry.
It has been lovely to talk to you about What Am I to Do, your latest single, and Tamworth gigs will be on your social media. I think they already are, actually, so people can find them there. And Tammy, as ever, a great pleasure to chat to you. Thanks for your time.
Thank you. Thanks for having me.